Today we're going to talk about Timelocks and their use in recovery solutions. So first we have to ask ourselves, what are recovery solutions? So recovery solutions allow you to remain in self-custody, unlike the trend to buy ETFs. It allows you to control your Bitcoin in a more restrictive way, unlike your seed, which allows you to do anything you want with your Bitcoin. If leaked, we want our saving not to be stolen immediately. So it kind of restricts the hacker who stole the recovery plan from taking full control immediately on the Bitcoin. Should it be idiot-proof? I think so. If you want to be able to hand it to less technical Bitcoiners, your family, your loved ones, and they will be able to recover your Bitcoin even if you are gone. And in the optimistic scenario, recovery solutions aren't being used. You still have your seed, you keep using your seed, you never need to use the recovery solution. So we're not talking about fees and stuff like that. If you use a recovery solution that needs a lot of fees, that's okay, because you don't plan to use it anyway. Timelocks. Why make transactions that we cannot broadcast immediately? So, for example, we want to restrict when secondary keys can access coins. We want to have some keys control, some seed phrase control the coins at any moment, and some keys control the coins only after a period of time. It allows us to create pre-signed transactions for optional future use. We can sign transactions today with some time lock to prevent them from being broadcasted today if we want to use them or to allow us to use them in the future. Second layers. So all second layers are basically create contradicting claims on the same UTXOs. For example, in a Lightning channel, you can have 50% of the UTXO, a signed transaction that will send me 50% of the value in the UTXO and 50% to the other side. And we are not broadcasting the transaction. And one day, we may decide to change the balance in the Lightning channel, 70% for me, 30% for the other side. But without time locks, whoever sends his better transaction first wins the funds. So all second layers need some time lock mechanism that will enable the old transactions to become invalidated by locking the funds somewhere and allowing the other side to see that once the partner is trying to cheat. Another way to implement second layers is to add some third party, some kind of a judge that will add his signature only to the last state of the transaction, but then if you need a third party to add a signature to get your funds, then is it really self-custody? Another reason for time locks is to disincentivize reorgs. In many modern wallets, when you sign a transaction, you add the current block height in the end lock time field. So if there is some miner who wants to do a reorg and go a few blocks back, he won't win your fees. So he will have less incentive to try to reorg the chain. And also when we talk about the block reward, miners can't use the block reward immediately. That's from the early days of Bitcoin. They have to wait 100 blocks until they can use the block reward, which incentivizes them to keep the mining the longest chain, the strongest chain, in order to be able to access their coins as soon as possible. So let's recall what transactions contain. Transactions, except the coin-based transactions, all transactions have inputs, basically a reference to an output of a previous transaction, an ID of the previous transaction, and an output index. They have an unlock script, which makes sure that they are the true owners of that output. And also every input has an end sequence field, which has multiple purposes, but can be also used for making sure that the transaction can be broadcasted only a period of time after the previous transaction. We have outputs. Every output has an address, which is usually a hash of a script or a hash of a public key. And of course, the Bitcoin amount in the output. Transactions have a version, and transactions have an end lock time field, which allows us to do absolute lock times. So we can say the entire transaction can be broadcasted only after a block height or only after a certain date. So let's start with the end lock time, the absolute time lock. The end lock times means the transaction becomes valid after some block height or some date. If the value of the end lock time is below 500 million, it's interpreted as a block height. We don't have to worry about block height 500 million. It will happen in 9,000 years from now. When the end lock time is above 500 million, it's interpreted as second since 1970. And since the maximal value is FFFFFFF, it will happen in 2106, which is not that much of a worry for our generation, but in the next 1-2 generations, it will become relevant. They will need to upgrade something in that. So the simplest recovery solution is a pre-signed transaction with end lock time. You create a transaction for your entire Bitcoin to move to a new address, a recovery wallet, or a custodian, and can be broadcasted only in a certain time. It has a fixed destination, which I see as an advantage, because if a hacker gets this transaction, he can't alter the destination. And if you want to be able to control the destination, you can always sign a transaction that will move the Bitcoin to a different seed that you control. And there is no need to switch to some script supporting wallet. The disadvantages are that spending coins will invalidate the signed transaction. If you spend any input, the entire transaction is seen as a double spent. You can't add coins to the already signed transactions, so you cannot just DCA and expect the signed transaction to contain your new UTXOs, even if you send DCA into the same addresses. It doesn't matter. These new inputs are new UTXOs. And there is a trade-off. You can either choose to say, okay, I'm creating a signed transaction for 10 years from now, but then if you lose your seed today, then you will have to hodl for 10 years until you can use the signed transaction. And on the other hand, if you want to you create a signed transaction for 6 months from now, then in 5 months, you are about to have to move your Bitcoin somewhere, or else this signed transaction becomes valid. So let's make recovery transactions for 1 million sats. Let's see. So we can see our Trezor suite here with 1 million sats. We can choose the destination address, and let's choose not to broadcast the transaction and to add the lock time. Let's select all the inputs, and we can choose a fee and choose. And for the lock time, for some reason, Trezor Suite, the API doesn't let you just enter the date. So you have to convert the date to a number, to a timestamp, since epoch time, paste it here, and you sign the transaction. Block height is estimated date. Why not date? It's up to you. You can have a block height if you know how to calculate what block height you want. And on your Trezor, you will see something like that. Lock time set to 2035, and you know that this transactions that you are signing could be broadcasted only on 2035. Let's see what we get when we can copy the signed transaction, or we can download this as text, and then we can instruct our inheritors to go to a website called mempool space tx push, paste here the signed transaction, and broadcast. We see here an error message. It's not very descriptive, but it's an error message because we are not in the year 2035 yet. So the end sequence field. So the original idea behind the end sequence field was to have some counter. So when you want to replace if the transaction has not been mined yet and you want to replace it, you can increase that counter. That was the original purpose of the end sequence field. And that's why when the end sequence field has the maximal value, FFFFFFF, even the end lock time is disabled, because it means that you never want to replace this transaction in the things that you want to do with it UTXO with anything else. So why wait the end lock time? It's irrelevant. And the lower values are whether we want to enable replace by fee or disable replace by fee. If we have lower values, and probably we want to enable replace by fee, increase the counter and increase the fee. In practice, the miners don't care about what you signaled replaced by fee or not. They care about who pays them the higher fee. So if they have the chance to mine an old transaction that will pay them a higher fee, they will pick it. And now in the latest versions of Bitcoin, replaced by fee is default, even if the signed transaction does not contain replaced by fee. You can take a picture here, sure. In version number 2 of the transactions, the B field has more complicated meaning. So first, the high values means that the relative log time is off. So all the values that we see, that start with F, they mean that there is no relative log time. But if we have lower values, then the bit at offset 22 means how we interpret the relative log time. Do we interpret it as blocks, or do we interpret it as units of 512 seconds? I can't say. Yeah, it's at least 7 years, yeah. And they mean that the transaction becomes valid only after a certain amount of blocks or seconds. Only the lowest 16 bits are used. So this makes if you use units of 512 seconds, this means the maximal relative log time that you can set is around 388 days. Okay. Moving. Okay. And we also have op check log time verify and op check sequence verify. They verify that both the value on the stack and the sequence or the log time are first in the same unit. You don't compare blocks to seconds or something like that. And they verify that the log time and sequence is at least the value on the stack. So we can create UTXOs that are spendable only after some time lock or a fixed date. Can we make transactions valid until a block height or date? The answer is no. There was, in the early days of Bitcoin, there was a suggestion to have some opcode called op block number that will limit the transaction from being broadcasted after a certain block height. And this creates a lot of complications, for example, from the receiver side. You may see a transaction that you seem to receive some Bitcoin. And even though the sender is not even trying to double spend the funds, there could be a reorg that could make your transaction the transaction that sent you some Bitcoin irrelevant because the reorg inserted some more blocks than you expected, and then the money is not yours anymore, and the transaction can no longer be valid anytime in the future. Also, it opens the door to spam attacks. You can create transactions that have short expiry and just broadcast them to the mempool, knowing that they are not going to be mined. And it also complicates the script validation caching. Right now, if you are running a small Raspberry Pi node and it receives a new transaction, it verifies all the inputs of the transaction. First, it verifies that they exist, and then it verifies that their script matches. Verifying that the script matches does a lot of cryptographic operations that can be a little bit hard for the Raspberry Pi. And after you verify the transaction, all you have to do is to verify if any of the input UTXO was spent by another transaction on the chain. And you never have to run the script again. If you have an ability to have transactions valid only until a certain date, this means that a transaction that had a valid script today may not be valid tomorrow only because the script says that it is no longer valid, and it complicates the entire caching mechanism of the result, and it will be very hard to allow it to run on weak computers like Raspberry Pis. So let's talk about one wallet that does recovery solutions, Liana. I call what doing a delayed key. You have a secondary key that becomes valid X days after the coin was received. So, for example, you can have a group account, a company that owns Bitcoin, and that company can have 5 board members, and you want to let them control the shared Bitcoin with 3 out of 5 signatures. But what happens if 3 people lost their seed phrase? Then you don't want the company to lose the Bitcoin forever, so any coin that was received can be spent with 2 out of 5 signatures after a year. The advantages is you can move the coins all the time. You can receive more Bitcoin, you can spend more Bitcoin. Every UTXO, this rule applies to it. The disadvantages is that you must have some script supporting wallet, and you need to move the coins often enough to prevent accessibility of the second key. If the company doesn't touch its Bitcoin for a long time, each one of the UTXOs for a long time, then after a year, the 2 out of 5 signatures become valid. And the destination is not fixed. So if you are leaving it to your inheritors and somebody scams them, they might be able to send the Bitcoin to a scammer instead of the custodian that you wanted them to use. So let's see how Liana wallet script execution works. This is from an old version of Liana. I know that today they are doing something with Taproot, but this has a similar purpose. So the normal use case is you have a stack begins with the master signature, and the script pushes the public key, and it checks the signature, it duplicates the truthful value, and it completes successfully. That's the day-to-day use case. But what happens if you lost the master seed? Then you start the stack with more values. More values on the stack means this transaction is bigger, means it will pay more fees. But that's okay because that's just a recovery solution. And we push the public key of the master key. Obviously, the check signature fails. If loop doesn't do anything. And now we duplicate the public key. And this is very similar to how pay to public key hash works. We duplicate the public key, we hash it, we verify that it is equal to an expected value. And then we check the signature. And then we also verify the relative time lock. So we push the value 24, and we check that the sequence, the end sequence is at least 24. 24 is just for this tested demo. It's a really low number, but the idea is clear. What we have implemented in time lock recovery, and this is already exists in the latest version of Electrum, 1.4.6. Latest version of Electrum that you download, you can enable the plugin. It's already there. Enable the plugin of the called time lock recovery, and I left a few papers over there. This is the outcome of the plugin that you can see. So you have your Bitcoin. You're not planning to touch it. This is like your inheritance wallet that you want to be able to touch, but you don't plan to touch in the near years, in the near future. So maybe you have a recovery wallet at the custodian. Maybe you have a recovery wallet that your loved ones learned how to use. And you signed with the plugin 2 transactions. First transaction is called the initiate or the alert transaction. It sends only 600 sats to the destination that keeps all the Bitcoin on your own wallet. The 600 sats allows the recovery wallet to do child pair for parent. So if you didn't put enough fees on this transaction, the recovery wallet can increase the total fee of to incentivize the miners to add this transaction. And the second transaction is a recovery transaction that can be broadcasted only 90 days after the initiate transaction. 90 days configurable. You can define it anything between 2 days to 388 days. And you also, if you have a multi-sig setup and complicated setup, you can sign in advance a cancellation transaction and save it on a different file, print it. And if somebody found your first transaction and decided to broadcast it for some reason, then you have 90 days to find your cancellation transaction, broadcast it, and the Bitcoin will remain in your wallet. The advantages is that there is a fixed destination. Your inheritors can do much mistakes. If you decide that the Bitcoin will move to a custodian, it will move to a custodian. No need to switch to a script supporting wallet. It's only end sequence field, which every wallet supports. There is nothing to renew here. You can print these signed transactions and not broadcast them for 10, 20 years. The disadvantages is that spending coins will invalidate the signed transactions. So this is like for the long-term, this is for your long-term wallet. If you want to do trading, this is for keep it in a different wallet. And you can't add coins to an already signed transaction. So let's see how it works in practice. This is our Electrum wallet. We have 3 UTXO from 3 transactions. We go to the tools, and we make sure the time lock recovery is enabled. And then we can choose a destination. We can choose multiple destinations, 50% for one address, 50% to another address. And we can choose the cancellation window. And we can choose whether the fee. We recommend setting high fees, like even 10 times the common fees today. In this example, I chose a low fee, but it's for recovery, and you don't have you don't want your inheritors to have the burden of having to accelerate the transaction. And you can choose to sign in advance the cancellation transactions. You can click the next button and just sign the transaction one after another. But you can also view each transaction before you are signing it, so you can understand. So the first transaction, it sends only 600 sats to the destination transaction, to the destination address, and all the green addresses are your own addresses. So it keeps all the funds most of the funds except the 600 sats on your own wallet. Okay. Okay. Now we are signing the second transaction. We can see the relative lock time on the top right of about 3 days, as we decided. And we can see that it sends the rest of the funds to the destination address. And we can sign the cancellation transaction, which doesn't have any lock time, and it sends all the Bitcoin from the wallet to itself. It appears, this kind of transaction will appear strangely on your Trezor because it has no outputs, it has no difference. So it basically you are going to send 0 Bitcoin with some fee. So it may appear a little bit confusing. And we can download the output as a PDF, just like the papers that you can see on your tables, or as a JSON file and save it somewhere. The nice thing about recovery solutions is unlike your seeds that you have to keep like 1 or 2 copies of it because it's really dangerous if it gets leaked. Recovery solutions, you can make lots of copies of them, print it many times. There is an issue with privacy, but if it gets leaked, nobody can steal your funds. It will move within 90 days to the fixed destination that you chose. This one. And this is what we are working on. This is just a prototype for an app which, after you exported the JSON file, you can install this app on your family relatives' devices. And you can find the JSON file and upload it. And it will create this, this recovery plan. They can choose the recovery plan. They can see all the details, but even if they are not that technical, all they need to do is the slide button. Let's see it over up there. All they need to do is to know that if something happens to you, they have to click the slide to initiate recovery, and they can follow the process of the first transaction being broadcasted, being mined, the time period being waited, and if obviously all the devices will get push notifications when if one of the devices start to trigger, and you can use your own mechanism because the first transaction is on chain. You can set some mechanism that will send you an email when the on-chain transaction is broadcasted. So what we are doing in right track, we verify and back up the transactions. We want to create a smartphone app that will execute, monitor the execution, accelerate everything, and maybe integrate with banks custodians to make it easier to create recovery plans that will send the Bitcoin to a custodian. We are open to the ideas of white label apps, and generally we'll have some newsletter sending people notes about regulation changes and hacks or phishing. If something happened to the custodian that you are planning to maybe send the Bitcoin in 20 years from now, then you want to know about it as soon as possible. Future work that interests us is anything related to vaults and covenants. There is a big limit in our solution that you can't add more Bitcoin to your recovery plan. Every time you accumulated some Bitcoin, you have to, anytime you accumulated some Bitcoin, you have to re-sign new recovery transactions. And and vaults and covenants may change this, and you create more complicated recovery solutions. Recovery chain, something that interests one of our potential customers, is to have one transaction sends his Bitcoin within 90 days in the same mechanism to his brother, and then his brother will have a wallet where he will sign a transaction that will move the Bitcoin to his wife, and his wife will sign in advance a transaction that will send Bitcoin to a custodian. And then only if something happened to the three of them together, then the Bitcoin will eventually move the custodian. But in the normal use case, the Bitcoin will stay under their custody, and the custodian will not even know that what their addresses and UTXOs have been in the first place. The custodian will have the responsibility to keep an address protected. That's it, under their name. Yeah. And possibly supporting shitcoins like stable coins. Yeah, we are open to that idea, because if you have like $500,000 in USDT, you're doing a mistake, but you want to have some recovery solution for your mistake. That's it. You're welcome to follow us. Yeah, it was earlier than I thought. Any questions? Yeah?
The app was just for broadcasting the transaction?
And for monitoring. The app will be for both broadcasting and monitoring. So even if you accidentally spend your Bitcoin, even if you spend one UTXO, one of the inputs, then the entire recovery plan becomes invalid. So you want to know about it. So he will send you push notifications to all the devices that want to watch this transaction. And even if we are gone and the app no longer supported, you can use other mechanisms to watch UTXOs, and there are some websites that allows you to watch UTXOs. So most people do all kinds of tricky treasure maps, where they leave all kinds of hints and expect their family to be technical enough to understand those hints. And I think that in the near future, when the generation of first Bitcoin nerds will become older, we will see so many scams going after inheritance once the Bitcoin is no longer with us. And that's something that terrifies me.
Why don't you have multiple pre-signed transactions with like incrementing the fees, so that if they use so they kind of have one set 30 bytes and then a lot of transactions like the next day, according to certain schema.
You're talking about you are worried not to choose, that you didn't choose a high enough fee.
Yeah.
So I don't think I don't want to overcomplicate the solution. We are going to audience that bought something in 2015, bought 1 or 2 Bitcoin, and now it's worth like an apartment, and they are afraid to touch their treasure. So we don't want to complicate things. And today, you do send the 600 sats directly to the destination. So the destination wallet can always do child pair for parent. You can also choose to have more destinations in the Electrum wallet and have them get 0 amount of the Bitcoin. And then this will be like anchor addresses. They will receive only 600 sats, and they can always be used to do child pair for parent, to send the high fee transaction, so the parent will also be mined. And today you can also go, it's kind of cheating, but you can also go to a website like mempool.space. I've tried it once, and you can pick any transaction that you want and you can kind of bribe them. You can pay them with a credit card even and with Lightning, and they will contact the miners and will send them the money and will mine your transaction. It's a really expensive service, like when compared to a normal transaction. It can cost like $70 to accelerate some transaction, but when you're talking about a large amount and recovery and inheritance, that's not a big deal. Okay? Okay, thank you very much.